I use my words to heal the other words that may have been used to hurt. Along the way, for my words, a life brought forth from the light.
Hey there, everyone. I am Jacob. So happy to be here today as the host for all the things light. We got us a new home. I feel like we got us a new home. So we're moving things forward in terms of the website, build and update and providing a space for all the things light. Um, Shucks, there's so many thoughts that come to mind in terms of where we're headed. But I do want to talk about right now about where we are. And today, uh, as you know, we're putting together the website. There's content that's being brought together. The music that I've mentioned here, as well as this whole podcast series and writing that I've done over the years. And so, in the spirit of the website, obviously there's content that needs to be put together. And so, I wanted to talk about introducing Jacob Diary. Who in the world is Jacob? You're calling yourself Jacob. You got this name, Jacob. And there's, for every website, there's an about section. And in that about section, you'll see that there's kind of an about the website, all the things like there's an about Corey in terms of my birth name, the name that my mama named me. Uh, and then there is Jacob, about Jacob. And I think having a distinction for all of them is essential because this is the space of transparency. This is a space of invulnerability. That's a word that you'll hear me say more and more because when you can be transparent, when you can open the door on who you are and the way that I endeavor for all the things light to be and to represent for all of us that come and gather, as it says, um, that's essential for being light because you can say, yeah, I am the light, but then all of a sudden you got all these hidden things that you want to keep in the closet, as it were. And that's okay too. If that's where you are, that's where you are. And no one is here to hurry you on your path and on your journey. No one is here to rush you. That is for you to know based on your innermost being. And so allow these series of conversations to be an introduction to how in the world do I listen to my innermost being? Well, I'm giving examples of myself, and that's what I'm compelled to do. And so, with that said, kind of who is Corey? I'll speak about Corey. You think y'all know Corey? You seeing Corey. You also seeing Jacob. And so I've mentioned Corey is the name that my mother named me. But I had to be introduced to Jacob. And then after I was introduced to Jacob, then came DIRE. And so I'll talk about DIRE first because and as much as both are fascinating when I think back on the experiences that I've had that got me here, this website is a culminating experience. Everything that you see moving forward in the present are things that have happened and are continuing to happen as I share. And so I'm bringing these moments forward in order to share very presently for such a time as this because uh, it is needed. I need to be able to share. There's, again, I mentioned previously, teaching and learning is always going on. So as I teach, I learn. As I share, I gain. And as I gain, I share. And as I learn, I teach. And so, in as much as we all have experiences with the light, when DIRE came, I was actually with a really good friend of mine at the time. We went to high school together, and we were having a moment in the spirit. We were caught up and just having we started by praying, and it was just a beautiful moment at that time for DIRE to come. And so that's when the song came, and this is shucks, 15 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago. And so that goes to show you when you hold on to things, when you don't let things go, when you don't allow that no or that not now to be never, that's when trust is bred. Like I've never given up on those nuggets, those jewels that I have had an experience with the light. And I bring those forward as often as I can, because it doesn't belong in the past. It belongs right in the present. Because uh, even to take this picture that we see in the middle of my forehead, part of it is a picture that I saw. I took this picture in the night that it looked like the sun in the middle of the night, and I was on an island. And so, with that said, there are images that we see, there are conversations that we have had. There are intimate moments that we have. Maybe it's with your child, maybe it's with your significant other, maybe it's with you just walking on the beach. This is an opportunity for us all to come and gather and share. And so I was having one of those moments with my brother. And so that's when the song came. I am us, we are one, all together, all together, to become all as one, all together, all together. So it as it culminated in that spiritual moment that we were having, that song came, and another song came as well. But that song stuck, and it was like, and it was just like it was like the Jamaican vibe. It was like, okay, this is what this is. And I just heard it audibly, and then I began to sing it. And so as the conversation continued and as that moment continued, then came, and again, I'm not Jamaican. At that point, I'd never been to Jamaica. Since then, I've been to Jamaica, but at that, I've never been. I've seen, Jamaican movies and whatnot, and seen the stereotypical things that they put on in media, but I'd never been to Jamaica, so I never had an authentic experience there until over the last couple of years. But the thought came, D.I.R.E., and I said it out loud. I said, D.I.R.E. I said D.I.R.E. And I said, okay. And you hear, if you listen to Jamaican music or hear a conversation, you hear someone say D.I.R.E. And I'm like, I've never been able to define it based on having a conversation about it. But in that moment, D.I.R.E. came. And I.R.E., the words came, I am, we are, it is. I said it out loud. I said, I am, we are, it is. And I wrote it down. And then I said D.I.R.E. again, and I spelled it out. I said, I am, I-A-W-A-R-I-I. And I put the I-R-E, the D apostrophe, like in French, D apostrophe, D apostrophe, D-I-R-E. So I-R-E stands for I am, we are, it is. And so whenever you see D.R.E. in the website or without music, that's what it stands for. I am, we are, it is. And so from that moment forward, I've kept that nugget, I've kept that jewel in my mind to where now it's coming on an album on a website 15 years later. So I again hold on to these precious moments because they come in a moment that's needed, yes, but then you'll be able to um, as if you have a quiver of arrows or a quiver or a bag full of jewels. When you need to wear that jewel, here it is. Polish it off, dust it off, remember it, bring it forth, bring it present. That's the polishing off, that's the dusting off. As we plant seeds, our job is to water, is to cultivate. That's what we do with our gifts. Go water it, cultivate it, and watch how it can grow into all the things light. I'm gonna slide over here so y'all can see all the things light. So that's how D.I.R.E. came. Jacob, like I said, I had to be introduced to Jacob. And in as much as um, there were significant moments that led up to this introduction to Jacob, I have to start by saying Corey wanted to be this perfect image of a saint. Told you all I grew up in the church and I wanted to be this perfect image of what it means to be a preacher, what it means to be a singer. I wanted to be this. Corey wanted to be perfect as an image. When I was introduced to Jacob, Jacob took me on the journey to really learn what it means to already have been made in the image and after the likeness of the Creator. And so Jacob is taking us on a journey for the last. The name came to me, and I'll spare you in terms of it was prophesied, it was spoken to me. Someone spoke into my life and said, your name is going to change. And then I went on to, have the conversation within my innermost being to the steps where I saw that name, and here it is that we are calling, and we are called Jacob. But as I said, and that's a conversation for another day in terms of going in scripture and speaking of the prophecy. But I'm speaking now in terms of for the introduction for this album. So Jacob is on a path like all of us. I am on the path of the light. I know that we are the generation of the light. And what that means for me is shining away all the darkness. And so, as I mentioned earlier, and so in as much as Corey just wanted to be the image, Jacob is actually walking towards the light. And as you walk towards the light, you begin to look like the light. And again, there's no pace for your journey, but understand that the path that we are on, we are listening, we are here, we are having this conversation because there's a journey that has brought us here together. And this website that we're building will be enable us to actually interact with one another in a real way in terms of come and gather, because that's the idea, that's the approach. And so Jacob really means to walk out what it means to walk in the image and likeness of love, of creation, of God, of of what it is to be made in the image and likeness of God. I did not create myself. I did not name myself. And so, in as much as the willingness is there is to share about the upsets, the pitfalls, Jacob enabled Corey to come out in terms of saying, "Yes, I do date men," and not be ashamed and not feel a sense of hate. That's what the song uh, "Love Lifted Me" is all about. Jacob enables so much more of an experience and of a stand still and see versus keep going, 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 going. We spoke about time the other on the previous episode. Jacob allows those moments to really make the impactful moment. So therefore, being able to share. Jacob is going to tell the truth no matter what the image looks like. So therefore, there can be a sharing and an agreement that's grounded in the truth, that's not grounded in trying to hide, that's not trying to go and where darkness exists. But as again we walk towards the light, Jacob is here to stay. And what I appreciate about Corey, like we're one and the same. Like there's no distinction, right? And so I can't get upset if somebody calls me Corey because that's who I am. I prefer to be called Jacob. However, listen, I am who I am. I just said I did not name myself. I did not create myself. So insofar as that is concerned, I respond to love. You call me in love, here I am. I don't know what it means not to be called in love. And I don't know what it means to call to have a call that is not from love. And so that's the call that we're after together. And I'm excited to continue to walk on this path together with more and more and more because we are real. We are flesh and blood in terms of in this existence. And so there are things that we go through in this flesh and blood to be like, man, that cut. It's all right to say ouch, but don't allow that ouch to become a woe is me. And then all of a sudden there's a pattern of I can't get up. Yes, you can. Your innermost being introduced to your higher self will always allow you to see, okay, what does it mean to be in the present? What does it mean to walk in the light? What does it mean to know love, even though you may not always feel love? And that's the path and the journey that we're on. So I'm happy to introduce Jacob in this way, just not images and words as Corey was introduced, but as it were. I'm glad to be here and thank you for joining and gathering with us. Let us continue to walk in the light and towards the light together. Grace.